I come from both farm people and city people, so I know both lives. And my father was an airline pilot, so I got to see a lot of the country at an early age. I've always been impressed with modes of transportation, and often frustrated with things like traffic jams. And so I think we need a better mousetrap.
Well, similar to Russ, my parents were professionals and farmers also. I grew up on a farm. My dad's dad was a farmer, and his grandfather was also a farmer on the same farm, southeast of LaSalle. And when I was 3 years old, I was out on the tractor. My dad would get me started, and I could steer. I was too small to push the clutch in. Even if I stood on it with both feet, I couldn't push the clutch in. And I'd go around and around the patch until I was done. I'd shut off the key and walk home. And growing up on the farm, my dad was also a chemistry and physics teacher too, and he made a lot of his own farm equipment. And if I would ask him, about what 2 + 2 was, he would be giving me an algebra lesson. He always took a lot of time to explain everything really carefully. Mm-hmm. And my mom was a social sciences teacher. She always took a lot of time to show me to appreciate art and to draw and use the other side of my brain. And so growing up, there was always a lot of work on the farm, and that's about all there was. My dad made a lot of his own farm equipment, and we would go to the scrap yard to select steel to build the equipment out of, and he would weigh it out at this the guy at Winnegrad's scrap yard in Greeley, Colorado would weigh out the steel. They'd send a little weight ticket in a little glass container in a glass pneumatic tube that would shuttle through the building and across the dirt road there to the office, where the clerk in the office, she would take the weight ticket out and print up an invoice and send it back through the glass pneumatic tube. I was about 4 years old and wondering what it would be like to ride in that little glass pneumatic tube. And it would go back and forth 3 times, because then my dad would write the check for the material, and they would send it back in that glass pneumatic tube across there. So maybe that was some of the seeds that planted the idea of travel in tubes. Of course, ET3 is a lot different than that. But there I'm starting to pitch too, I guess. Growing up, my dad taught me a lot about math and science, and just took a lot of time to explain everything, how engines worked, and just from a young age. And so I was interested in engineering and math and science. I studied mechanical engineering, and I think it was in my either thermodynamics class or physics class, we had a lab where we were doing wind tunnel tests. And that's where I came up with the first ideas about ET3, and I wrote them in the back of my physics book back in the early 80s.